Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have Miss Puja Talesara Bhandari with me. Hey, Puja.
Hey, hello, Dr. Kimberly. Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast.
Yes, all the way from Singapore, right? You're in Singapore? Yes.
Yes,
So it's morning here and it's night there.
yes. It's night. The weather out here today has been really, very good. It was like a little bit raining, so it's pleasant.
Uh-huh. So just so people know you, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio. So Pooja is an intelligent leadership master certified executive coach, conscious parenting coach, author, and organization development consultant. Pooja's trajectory is a testament to the transformative power of inward excellence leading to outward excellence. Hailing from a non-English speaking small town family, Pooja defied the odds and pursued her academic aspirations, culminating in her becoming a rank holder in her MBA from Southern New Hampshire University, breaking barriers as the first professional in her family and ascending to leadership roles at a young age. Throughout her corporate tenure, Pooja distinguished herself as a dynamic leader, garnering accolades for her contributions in the millennial leadership space. Her innate ability to inspire and empower others led her to the path of coaching, where she found her true calling. All right, so I am so excited to hear your story. And I know that, you know, you had to negotiate to get to where you are. So tell us your story.
Thank you so much for reading out such a humble bio. So thank you so much. So the story started, and I'm so passionate as I was telling you, right? It was the first negotiation skill I had with my dad, and that today when I'm a parent, Kimberly, I can tell you kids are blessed with the best negotiation skill. So let me deep dive for your audience into it. So as you were reading that I'm the first professional in my families, I come in from a hardcore business family, wherein typically in our culture, uh, girls would usually get married at the age of 19, 20, 21 max. And there, I cleared my graduation and I came to my dad, and he already had a few proposals. And I was like, Dad, I want to study further. And he was like, I wanted to do an administrative exam. And there, me, it was like, if I do administrative exam and if I don't clear it, in India, you have something called an administrative exam, which is Indian Administrative Service, wherein it's considered to be one of the toughest exams. And I was like, if I don't clear it, I would just be a graduate. So I was like, okay, let me have a, conversation with my dad. And I told him like, see, I want to do an MBA. And after that, let's think about the marriage. So he's like, okay, I give you 2 years, do what you want to do. So after the MBA, I come back to him. And I said like, well, Dad, I was just thinking I want to work a little bit and then let's think about it. He was like, uh-huh, okay, go ahead. So even when I started working in, and I'm going to keep on moving forward and moving a little bit, back and forth into the story of mine. Um, Kimberly, even before I started working in, the very first thing I would want to drive is like, I went coming from a non-English speaking family, right? So when my dad moved towns because he wanted to be establishing his business. His business was into jewelry. Um, so when he moved towns and moved cities, rather, we came to Mumbai, which is one of the metropolitan city. So when we came in there, oh my God, the first day, Kimberly, I used to love speaking, okay? So I was there out there speaking and I couldn't speak in English. So all I was speaking was in English, a mix of my native language, a native language of India, a mix of English. And I felt everyone was mocking at me. Now, why I want to bring that thing here is, that day my mom said, it's all in your head, Pooja, what is happening. And which is so true, the life what we want to lead and the life what we are living right now, what we are living, and the life what we want to lead, actually the gap between those two is our mindset. It's all about our mindset, right? If that day, if I wouldn't have listened to my mom and I would have gone into the shell, I wouldn't have met a beautiful person like you today. We wouldn't have been able to connect globally. So that taught me a lesson. Kimberly, my life is based around three main lessons. So that taught me a lesson, that every version of your life, every stage of your life would need a different and a better version of you. And let not the outer noise become your inner voice, because that's where which actually decides whether you are going to be like on the other side of the realm or you're going to be the side. It's said beautifully, right, Emily, that failure is a stepping stone of success. Now, I want all your audience to think for a moment that if failure is a stepping stone of success, then why all of us are not successful?
Mhm.
Because at some point of time, I'm sure, Kimberly, even you would have faced up and down, when I would have faced ups and down, then why is it only few percentage? It is because of our mindset. It is because of that mindset. And that is what was my first lesson, which helped me to get into an MBA, which really helped me when I got into the corporate world. In the corporate world, I was the youngest one. In fact, the second assignment of mine, when I was being recruited and I walked in, I was the only lady, working in there, because everyone, all of the other staff, very gentlemen. And the day I walked in, my manager had to leave for an immediate surgery. And so I was being left with huge number of vacancies to be filled in. So, it's going to give you a challenge. And that's where how we're going to turn it around is going to actually define. So in life, every incident, every event brings in the possibility. So either you can look at it as a possibility or you can look at it as an obstacle. And I looked at it as a possibility, like, okay, well, my manager is not there. This gives me a possibility to learn more. And actually, it really helped me to shine beautifully in my career. I lost my dad at an early age. I lost him when he was like a 47-year-old.
Mm.
As I told you, I'm hardcore from a business family, from a jewelry family. And then we had to wind up our business. My mom is a cancer conqueror. And that's where my interest got piqued into leadership. And that's where my first, lesson during that time, because I was expecting my second child. I was into the corporate consultancy career after having all the experience of the corporate. And that's where it hit me that, we talk all about leadership, but leadership is not only in the corporate, it's even in the personal life. And we all need to be the CEO of our personal life as well as the CIO, Chief Inspiration Officer. It's so vital. So mom taught me, that particular incident. I call her as a cancer conqueror. So that particular incident actually taught me, that how do you need to be the CIO and CEO, and it's all about personal leadership. I moved countries. I came to Singapore. It's been now 10 years plus. I'm in Singapore. And it was too much for me, Kimberly, because dad, mom, I was expecting, and I took some break. And during that time, I was being approached by Asian Dog Life, and they wanted to do a podcast with me. We did a podcast on stress management, and it went on to be really a good podcast. It was been appreciated, and they wanted to do with me series of podcasts. And that's where I told them, like, why not let's do a podcast with leadership? Let's get the people around the world. They were like, okay, who would get? You would get? I said, yeah, I will get it. So I said, let's get Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. I had no idea of Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, I must say. He's such a fine and such a beautiful gentleman. I wrote to him, and whoever has ever connected with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith always write that life is good. And he said, sorry, Puja, my Cantor's book, approach me next year. He wrote to me this on 25th of December. On 31st of December, I wrote to him, I'm the first person reaching out to you before the next year starts. And life would be great if you agree to come on a podcast. So, another lesson what it taught me is that, every exit is an entry somewhere.
Mhm.
So this, and then he came on the podcast, and that's where when he came in, we had Sally Hagerson, we had Dinah Boa, we had Amy Curran. The podcast was Leadership Demystified, and it was supported by Human Capital. It went up to hit, I think, 200K views in 6 months, and that's where I met my guru, John Mitton. So John Mitton was there on the podcast, and while I was talking to him, and I was like, I want to do personal leadership, and I obviously don't have so much of money because I was exhausted, Kimberly, during my mom's treatment because it was one of the rare kind of cancer.
Mm.
He was very kind enough to actually mentor me on a scholarship basis, and then he asked me like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I want to coach people around. I want to work with the Golden Triangle." And that's where the journey started of coaching leaders around the world. Very, very honored to be, you know, cut back to the present scenario wherein I coach leaders around the world. I work with the Golden Triangle, which is parent, educators, and children. And I'm director of this organization, Intelligent Leadership Online Academy. So to sum up, Kimberly, there are 3 lessons which I have learned through my life trajectory. One is that we always feel the grass is greener on the other side. When I started off first, like I don't know English, all the other people, but the grass is going to be the greener on the side where you're going to water it consistently. So it's very important where you are going to put in your energy. Every level of our life will need a different and a better version of ourselves. And we have to not let the outer noise become our inner voice. And it's all the mindset. So we need to be a CIO and CEO.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that CIO. Inspiration. I hadn't heard that one before, so that is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. There are days when we go through up and down, and if you're not going to be a cheerleader, no one else in this life is going to be. You need to believe in yourself because it's just like an iceberg, right? I mean, you know it. Like we always keep on striving, and in this, like the life is this way. And if you
Mhm.
are going to believe in yourself, no one on the planet Earth would.
So I want to go back in your story now. So first of all, as a young person, you negotiated with your dad to, put the marriage off, even though there was very, strong cultural ideas, rules, and yet your dad was understanding, which is beautiful because not all dads would be that way. They might feel the pressure of other people around them who would expect something. So, and then again, you come back and you said, Dad, one more time. So, when you finally did get married, I just have to ask, how did your dad choose somebody for you? Because obviously this husband, I hope he's got good negotiation skills or you're going to rule the roost. You're going to be
Uh, Unfortunately, when I got married, my dad was there with me in spirits, not present. Um, my husband is a CA, so the hardcore, the numerical
uh,
part of it. But yeah, he is as well. We both are very logical,
uh,
and the beautiful thing is, in the parenting, especially, I feel that if we disagree, we have a very beautiful thing that, okay, Mama and I'm going to discuss and come back to you. So yeah, I do learn from him, and I think even he's getting better with me. With human, soft skills and human enabler skills.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just on a training yesterday with emotional intelligence, and so important that we self-regulate and understand ourselves so we can communicate with people, especially our family.
Absolutely. And there's this beautiful saying which says like something like this, it is said that often things are lost between what is said and what is understood,
Mhm.
and what is not said and what is understood. So it is so important, communicating, but communicating to connect.
Mhm.
It's very important that are you communicating to connect, and are you seeing, hearing, and holding the space. Because as a human being, we all have this need to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. And we obviously have this need higher with our significant ones.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's so important that whenever you're communicating, you communicate to connect.
Exactly. And then you have how many children do you have now?
I have two children. One is I'm a teenager girl's mom, and I have a 9-year-old son. So yeah, very blessed, and actually I take a lot of inspiration from them.
Mhm.
You know, I feel each day they teach you so much. They teach you immense. I mean, I'm like uh, surprised and appalled sometimes, like the way they teach. And I was just telling my daughter, she both of them have authored a book. Can I share a little bit about it? Kimberly, you
Yes.
think it's okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll share the process, what happened. So I'm working, my husband is working, he travels a lot. So they had a school vacation, and unfortunately, my spouse couldn't match the time with the vacation, and he had to travel it. And I was so busy with my assignments. So I couldn't really, plan something really very, very meaningful for them. And they had like back to back many vacation this time. So they had a vacation. They were like, Mom, what do we do? And they would always keep on coming marching. And I was like, oh God, it's so busy. It's so difficult to keep them busy. So then I told them, I told my elder one, why don't you write a book based on your experience? And she was like, okay, so would you publish it? I said, yeah, go ahead. So she started writing a book, and she was like completely in that writer's zone, having that coffee mugs, the hot chocolate mugs in the late night. And within 2 weeks, her manuscript was ready. And then my son was like, the competition, the so my son was ready, and the sibling rivalry, not rivalry exactly, the sibling competition would be a better word, or sibling inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So my son was like, if she's writing, I need to write as well. And he wanted to be a step ahead. So he was like, I'm going to donate it to the organization. So he found the organization, and he's supporting Cuddles Foundation, which is all about the Cuddles Foundation focuses on really taking away the childhood cancer. They focuses on fighting against childhood cancer, which is through nutrition and lifestyle improvement. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what Cuddles Foundation does. Yashna, my daughter, who is 14 years old, she has written everything about teenager, and it's a self help workbook, a personal growth book, wherein she deep dives into 4 concept, and she gives the mini test, she gives a teen pact in a typical teen language. And she is supporting Akshay Foundation, which focuses on education for the orphanage and dropout. And so I'm like super excited. And why I wanted to share, because sometimes we say, like, children, when they get bored, when they don't know what to do, that's where the creativity borns.
Mm-hmm.
That's the birth of creativity. So when they were bored, they didn't know, and when you just give them a little bit of stimulus, it really helps them, and they both were creative. And I mean, I'm so proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
because I wouldn't think at that age to write, and just completing in 2 weeks, they found their publisher. The book has been published. We have a book launch here in Singapore on 8th of June. They have already sold, I think, 30 books.
Well, awesome. Well, you need to get are they going to put it on like here in the United
Yes,
States,
yes,
we
they
have
are going
like
to put it on.
Amazon. Are they going to put it
Yes,
on Amazon?
yes, yes,
So
yes,
once
yes.
you
They are
get
going to put
the
it on.
links, you need to send it to me. I'll put it in the show notes. So if people wanted to get the books, they could.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we would be, and as my son says, like yesterday, he was just, he was like, Mom, how can I reach out more? So he went on to create his Instagram page, and there he posted a video. I'm thinking about all the things. This Generation Z and the Alpha generation kid are like amazing. If you give them that space,
Mm-hmm.
they're amazing. And even his story, few of the stories he picked up, the inspiration came in from all the cartoons he would watch. And one more thing, as I shared with you, that my mom is a cancer conqueror and is supporting the Cuddles Foundation, which fights against childhood cancer. So we asked him like, why are you so passionate about supporting cancer, theme? So he was like, my maternal grandmother had cancer. So we were like, why are you not supporting then the breast cancer foundation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Kimberley, the answer what he gave, I had goosebumps. He said, when any child is hurt, the parents are hurt the most. When I'm hurt, you are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring that happiness and I want to make the parents and the children. Okay, that's so deep, right? Our children are like observing us. They model us like this empathy. I felt like it was really deep. So as a parent, because I'm even into conscious parenting, so that's why I want to share with your viewers. It's so important that what are you modeling? Because your children are picking every now and every then. And sometimes, I mean, it's okay if they want to watch content, but it's important that how are they consuming and what they're consuming and what they're creating. So, it's important that how we channelize that boredom in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. They do, match you, and you think they're not watching. You think they're not. I remember my son growing up, he never wanted to eat any green vegetables, nothing green. He just wanted to eat meat, potatoes, corn, like just mostly meat.
Just
And then when he became 19, when he graduated high school, he became a personal trainer. And now he is telling adults, he said, it's my job as a 19-year-old to tell 40 and 50-year-olds what to eat, and I tell him what to do. And the thing is, he doesn't eat all that sugar and stuff now either. In fact, if I eat something with sugar, he goes, Mom, why are you eating that with sugar? So he was watching, because I've always had a real clean diet where I just, I eat a lot of vegetables. I don't eat a lot of sugar. And he's like, Mom, why are you eating that sugar? I'm like,
so
so they're
beautifully, how the
watching.
life is beautifully to circle. Fantastic. Oh my God.
Yeah. So
So
they're listening, even though it looks like they're not listening, even though it looks like they're not paying attention or they're not following at all. The same thing I've heard my daughter, I'll tell her this advice, and it seems like she's not following it, she's not listening, anything. And then I'll overhear her talking, counseling one of her friends on the phone, saying exactly the words I told her.
oh
So,
my goodness.
but she won't admit that, they won't admit that you're right, or that, what you're saying is important, but then they are modeling it. They are doing it.
And I think why do they put up the face that they are not listening to us? It's because they want to have their own authority, because that's the time, they're trying to have their own identity and trying to establish themselves. And so they don't want to feel like, that they don't have a space. So, what we do at our home, that we have a mini courtroom. In our family circle time. So in case if we disagree with someone and if we don't like their opinion, so each one of us will put our case. And so kids would say, okay, I disagree. No, my lord. So we choose who's going to be the judge and how it's going to go about it. So it gives them a good logical and negotiation power. And at the same time, if they ask something like we want it, so I'm gonna say them like I tell them like let's put it in your wish chart.
Mhm.
So we have something as a wish chart or a wish book or as a parking zone, a
Mhm.
parking wish zone. And then, at the month end, we tell them like this many are in your parking wish zone. You can pick up any one. So you pick up. So
Mhm.
they feel you choose. So, they feel that power of choice.
Mhm.
They feel empowered that I have made that decision. And as a parent, you are not pulling them in your zone or you are not getting into their zone, but you're establishing a common zone which is above correction. It is based on connection.
I love that. I love that, because I don't know about other people. I'm, a lot older than you, but, growing up, it was just the adult said something and you better do it. Or there's consequences. That's it. There was no discussion about what the child wanted. There was none, it was just like, we're doing this, go do it. That's it.
There has been so much science backed on this that, that children who grew up in the house where it's more of empowerment, more of connection, they are far much emotionally intelligent leaders.
Mhm.
Because our life is based on pattern, and that's what got me so interested to work on this golden triangle. Because every time I would coach a CEO or a leader, they would keep on saying like, I wish, Puja, this would have started way back then.
Mhm.
And I would be like, yeah, I keep on hearing, I better work on it. And then we started this golden triangle, because our life is based on pattern. I would like to take a moment, and I would like, tell even audience to go through it with us right now.
Okay.
That in school, when we are studying, I don't know about Western, but largely in the Asian culture, there is always a thing that, you have to be first, or you have to perform better. So there's always this, competition, and always the parents are pushing it.
Mhm.
And in the class, they would be in a grade, particular grade, they would be children who would be of your age or a year older, very rarely, but largely of your age. But now take it to the corporate. In the corporate, you will never work with the people similar of your age. But we are not teaching them while they are growing up. And then we have, people hire us, coaches like us, that, there's a problem. This leader can't connect. This leader doesn't have emotional intelligence. The leader has difficulty in listening, because we are always conditioning them, same age group people, play with same age group people. Why are you playing with the older one? Why are you playing only with the people who are like, younger to you? It's so important to have that diverse group as you're growing up. And at the same time, as I was telling you that, when they're growing up, we are always in the competitive spirit that you have to be first, you have to be first. But let's think in entrepreneurship. If the person has had more failures, it is counted as an experience, is counted as a serial and entrepreneur. In school, we say like you have to not cheat on someone's idea,
Mhm.
but in the corporate, it's called as, in the entrepreneurship rather, it's called as an inspiration.
Mhm.
You're inspired by someone. So the children are continuously in the world of trying to make their mental notes and modes. And that's where the patterns form in. And which that's why we have leaders sometimes who are very task oriented, the leaders sometimes who don't connect with people, the leaders sometimes wherein we see they are not very inclusive leaders. So just imagine, if as a parent, as an educator, if we put in the right seeds, if we are very conscious and intentional, oh my God, just imagine what kind of leaders we would have.
Exactly. Yeah. If they are already, your children are already learning how to negotiate, at a very young age, and negotiate their wants and their needs, and, be able to voice their opinion, which is invaluable.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
So, yeah. So when you're working with people in your coaching, um, who are your clients and how do you coach them?
So my module is based on, so what I have done is I picked up experience from my personal life, from my corporate journey, and obviously what I've learned from my guru, John Maton, and a little bit of conscious parenting. So it's a mix, it's a blend of everything. So my model is based off coaching into awareness, acceptance, action, and acceleration. So I'm a firm believer that everything starts with us. First, understanding ourselves, just like a personal excellence GPS, that you need to know where are you right now as is, with respect to your beliefs, with respect to your habits, with respect to your thought patterns. And sometimes, even if one person is aware, I find most difficult. In fact, the needle movement happens is whether they are ready to accept it or not. I've had a breakdown during 360-degree feedback disclosure. And they said, like, I would have some of my coaches saying, they are envy of me, Puja. They don't like me. This is not me. Tell me who has said this. It's so hard. It's so hard for a leader to accept that. And sometimes I would have leaders who would say, like, I don't want this people to be in my 360 degree because they really don't talk to me well. Or I would not want my family member to be there in this. So, it all starts with awareness, acceptance, and these two are the major, major milestone. When this happens, then action is the action planning, what we do. Just like, your GPS, you keep on recentering, right? Till the time you reach your destination. So we keep on recentering. And then it's an acceleration that even tomorrow, when I am not there with them as a coach, how are they able to still rise and soar and be able to do what they are meant to be on this planet Earth? So we focus on what they can, what they should, and what they must do.
Okay, wow. And then you also work with children, and you talked a lot about your parenting. So when you're doing the stuff with the parents, how is that a different type of coaching, or you had like a university or something? What do you have for that as far as parenting?
So for parenting, it's the golden triangle. And what I want to share with you is, inside each parent, there's a child. And we in our parenting bring in that unmet child need. We always, I would hear my friends saying that I don't want my children to face what I face. Maybe your children don't even need that, but you are bringing in because you're trying to meet your own thing, your own unmet needs. So we first start with helping them map their parenting style. It all starts with your connection and with your engagement. Are you a parent who is very, very controlling, who wants to control everything? Are you a parent who is more of a facilitating type? You would have certain parents like controlling type. The children would not be aware. They would not even be able to guess that when my dad or mom would get angry. They wouldn't know. And whereas the facilitating type are the one, they would have everything laid down for the child, even before the child can think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a parent who freeze. Sometimes when children throw a tantrum, they would just freeze. They don't know what to do. And then there are parents who want to, run away from the situation. So they just flee away. So what they would do, either they would send the children to the boarding school or to grandma's house or to friend's house, like, just take it. I just need some peace. So none of this parenting are actually empowering. I was been raised in an environment wherein my both parents were super, super facilitating. They were a facilitating type. I mean, I would go to school, imagine my breakfast is ready, my bag is ready, my mom is getting everything, and my dad has been like, it was a project when I used to go to school. They would be all catering to me. My husband grew up in an environment which was strict with the rules and regulations. Now see both of us become a parent. I have a notion, for your children. My husband is like discipline. So there's this conflict. You're trying to prove like I'm superior, you're trying to prove I'm superior. And just imagine that tiny child gets so confused. And what happens is none of this are empowering, because if you have highly controlling parent, then what happens is like you would want your children to be like going according to the the rules and regulation. And if it's too much of a facilitating parent, then you feel the world is kind and everyone should be kind to me, and then you just can't take it. If someone is not kind, you feel this world doesn't belong to me. And so, those children wouldn't be resilient. They would learn over a period of time. So that's what we start with. First, map your own style, map your trigger, because sometimes when children say something, we feel it's challenging our authority, and we don't like it, or we don't feel that we have our innate mental mode. So it's so important to get into that, and then establish a common zone wherein your child comes in, you come in, and that's where a beautiful path gets bloomed in. Like this morning, I was having a conversation with my teenager. She was like, my maths exam didn't go well. I'm so sad and upset about it. And she was crying in the morning at 3. And I was wondering, like, why is she crying? I just came, running. What happened? And I was like, what happened? She's like, my maths exam didn't go well. I was like, it's okay if it didn't. She's like, I would not get a job. I was like, you're just in the eighth grade. Why do you think maths is so important I mean, it's okay. There are so many plethora of jobs. You're a writer. You can do so many other things. She's like, no, you don't understand. I would not get a high paying job. Now, then I started, going back and understanding, see how they form the mental modes, that my mom is a topper.
Mhm.
My dad, I mean, though we never pressurize them, but just imagine children have so much of pressure, because I need to live up to them. And then I sat and I told her, like, there's so many other things you're good in. It's okay. You have to give in your best. It's not that you have to not try, you have to give in your best and then leave the rest.
Mhm. That's all you can do. That's all anyone can do. Do your best.
Yeah, I got emotional and charged about it.
Yes, exactly. So if people wanted to work with you, where would they connect with you?
So the best place to to look out for me to find me is LinkedIn. It's Puja Talesara Bhandari, my name. And then people can reach out to my email ID. I have two email IDs, whichever you can catch on. It's leaders, leadrs, leaders, webinar at gmail.com. Leaders, the webinar at gmail.com. And then another one is puja.1809 at gmail.com. And if you wish to work with me on an individual basis with respect to parenting, with respect to teenage coaching, with respect to coaching for women, or coaching in the leadership space, educators, you can reach out to this email IDs. If you wish to be working with me as my capacity in John Mitton as a director, you could just look out for John Mitton website, and there you would find me in the leadership team.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now I have a personal question for you. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life right now?
I think, Emily, the most beautiful thing for me has been I celebrate when the day when my coachee doesn't need it, because it gives me such a beautiful feeling when I see them achieving their goals, moving the needles. Where when they come in, sometimes you have people who really want help, who are ready. Sometimes there are people who are nominated by the organization, and there are different. You get to meet people from different walk of life. Like I have had an honor to coach right from Generation Z till wisdom age of 80. So I am so honored to be like coaching like Florida Cancer Group, Ford Motors Pro, the capital from South Africa, Dubai, Middle East, Singapore, USA, UK, Australia. So you get to meet people from different culture, you get to understand, and uniformly, whomever I have met, I have discovered one thing. It's the mountain in you which actually stops you from growing up. I had someone who is in UK, and she reached out to me and she was like, Pooja, I want to increase and amplify my executive presence. She was in some of the university at a senior most position, and she was like, I want to be better than my Western counterparts. So I was like, first of all, you have to shun that feeling and you have to get on to the feeling of, rather than fitting in, you have to start belonging in.
Mhm.
So you have to activate your inner compass. So this is a theme I found out uniformly, that, it is us, the mountain is within us. We need to move that. And in uniform, another uniform theme I found out is people have really great difficulty in saying no.
Mhm.
So they have great difficulty that they can't say no, and they have difficulty in being assertive largely. Those are the two common themes I've seen.
That makes sense to me for sure. So, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for all your wisdom. And it's been a wonderful interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me that space and for listening through. And you were fantastic, Dr. Kimberley, and whatever work you're doing so beautiful work. Thank you so much for bringing to us all the wisdom nuggets.
Yeah, so I have one last question before we complete. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Hmm. All the beautiful things happen from the present zone. And the present where you are in, and that's why it is called present, it requires you to take action. So now the decision is going to be yours. Are you going to be in a zone which is fast and keep on complaining nothing is moving, or be in the futuristic zone of anxiety? So be in the present zone, make the most out of it, and then you would see life turning up to be the most beautiful life what you want.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Puja.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us.